So if you're subscribed to my, I'm gonna put a post advertising this 4K version. Now I can't do all my entire Image Comics collection all in one video in 4K. Found that out the hard way, but so I can all the sacrifice I had to make getting rid of photos on my iPhone. To make that worth it, I'm gonna do this in 4 parts because I have 4 shelves, 4 rows, 1, 2, 3, and 4 of the Image Comic shelf. Without further ado, let's get into it. Bitter Roots is a absolutely phenomenal comic. I think it does politics and comics right, and it's written by David F. Walker and Chuck Brown. Skyward is another phenomenal book, but this one is like, even if you don't, this can be read by anybody. Like, if you absolutely hate even the smallest mention of politics and comics, this doesn't have any of it. This is just pure fun. And it also is, this one's rated M for mature, but this one is T for teen. I would say it's good for like 10 and up. Like, there's absolutely no swearing from what I remember. Some minimal blood and some kind of, like, it's not a kid's book. I would not say it's a kid's book. I would say it's like a teen book, like kind of like young adult. And this one that's covered Satellite Sam. Read the first issue a long time ago. Kept thinking about getting the trades, and then I thought the hardcover has more than the trades do. It has a bonus story in only the hardcover, and I just took so long to finally make the decision to get the hardcover that I went out of stock on Amazon, so I had to get it from a third-party seller off Amazon. So no Dust Jacket. User by Devin Grayson, pretty good. Nothing like outstanding or anything like that, but I remember liking it enough, and I love Devin Grayson as an author. The Walking Dead and We Stand on Guard, both written by Brian K. Vaughan. That's gonna surprise a lot of people who don't know that there was a few Walking Dead spin-offs not written by Robert Kirkman, who was the original writer of Walking Dead and the creator, obviously. We Stand on Guard I did read, and it is not the best comic. It is. I think a lot of it is just because I think of Brian K. Vaughan, and I think of comics, and as a writer, Brian K. Vaughan, he's just like so far above, like, he's a really damn good writer. That's what I'm trying to say. But I'm failing on speech right now, and I think this one was just kind of. It's not bad because it's not as good as Saga or as Paper Girls or as Why Last Man. It's kind of like just a mid in general. I do need to reread it, I think. I think a reread is in order for that book. Honestly, for all these books. Except for one that I will get into in this video, actually. Because I read it recently. Like, it wasn't like it was terrible. No, I just read it recently, and there's no reason to. Starhenge Book 1, written by Liam Sharp. Green Valley by Max Landis, who also wrote a phenomenal Superman book. And it's the only 2 books he's written too. The only 2 he's written is Green Valley and Superman. That's credited on Amazon, anyways. Which is pretty accurate. More accurate than the actual Image Comics website itself. And I'll get into what I mean by that in a second here. But basically, TLDR is they'll have someone like Brian Wood, for example. They only have 2 out of the 5 comics he's written for Image Comics credited on the official website. It is extremely frustrating when I think I have everything, and I find out I don't years later, like what happened with Brian Wood. But now I know where to look to find out if I have everything by that author. Stringer by Patrick Kindlin, Wayward by Jim Zub, my favorite Jim Zub book thus far, and just a phenomenal book in general. Skull Kickers and Glitter Bomb, also written by him. Now you'll see that there's a book. You'll see that you probably noticed that I have all my hardcovers together. No matter who writes the book, they have a soft cover. Like, for instance, I have a soft cover by the writer of Skyward, Joe Henderson. And I forgot to mention that. Matt Fraction, by the way, for Satellite Sam. Actually, a good example is Matt Fraction. I have a soft cover of Matt Fraction's that is on the shelf, sure, but way over there, not next to the hardcovers. That's my OCD acting. I mean, just how it looks. I hate to put softcover, hardcover, but when it comes to softcovers, I put all the authors together. But hardcovers, it doesn't matter. So Glitter Bomb, also by Jim Zub. Unearth, Regression, and Cold Spots, all by Cullen Bunn. And Cold Spots being the only one I've read by Cullen Bunn. but I've read a bunch of other books by Cullen Bunn from other publishers, and this and Cold Spots. Only one book I've read by Cullen Bunn I've hated, and that was his King. And I would say hated because I thought it was just boring, and that was his King Arthur book. And even that was just like, probably because of the way it was written, honestly, if anything. But everything I've read by him is phenomenal, except for that one King Arthur book by Cullen Bunn. And Cullen Bunn is just an underrated author in general. The Pro, Pride and Joy, Back to Brooklyn, Adventures in the Rifle Brigade, Bloody Mary, and one story in the CBLDF Presents Liberty anthology book, all written by Garth Ennis. Garth Ennis, I've mentioned this, I mentioned this in the original cut of this video that I uploaded to my main channel, This Justin Comics, that even if all these end up being terrible and I hate them, it's still worth it to have my favorite author, and right now at least, my favorite publisher all in one. Like, all the Garth Ennis books that he's done for Image, everything he's done for Image. The only one I don't have by him is, and this is my one, not criteria, but it doesn't count. One exception, that was the word. The one exception to me trying to get everything an author has done for Image is not to include Spawn or Witchblade or Darkness. Darkness and Witchblade because I'm getting the complete collections, and Spawn because there's 50 fucking spin-offs of Spawn, and because of that, I'm out. Like, I'm not gonna get Spawn. Maybe if I just get and if I do, I'm just getting the compendiums. Because I have thought about getting them set. I read the first compendium a while ago, really enjoyed it, but just there's so many spin-offs, and I'm kind of like, I'll be missing out even if I have all the compendiums. Like, that's the feeling I have. To waste that much money on something that's not complete, On the Stump and Flawed, both written by Chuck Brown, so there you go. So I have that type of, how I have the shelves. But Flawed, I thought was phenomenal. On the Stump, I thought was just okay. Again, I need to reread On the Stump. Flawed, I just read for the second time, like, this past week, so obviously nothing's going to change about how I felt about that series. Frontiersman by Patrick Kindlin. And if I go by, obviously if I go like Frontiersman, I haven't read, so I'm just going to say Frontiersman and who the writer is, and then move on. Made in Korea, one of the most underrated comics I had read that year, and I think one of the most underrated comics in general. And from Image, too. Bloodstained Teeth by Christian Ward, written by Christian Ward. I think the artwork is done by him too, but one of those instances of artist turned author from Image Comics. There's a few of them I have that are like that. Surgeon X by Sarah Kenny, Snot Girl by Brian Lee O'Malley. Thankfully, there's not as much gross out humor and gross out parts in this book that you think there would be with a title like Snot Girl, and when it's honestly my second favorite Brian Lee O'Malley comic next to Scott Pilgrim. It is that good. I cannot wait to read that book again. And so some of these that I've read, almost all these that I've read because my library had them, but I got but I bought myself. Now, something like Wayward, they only had the soft covers that are this size. So when I decided to get Wayward by the bullet by it myself, I got the oversized hardcovers. So I'm upgrading. And those hardcovers came with these nice posters. I don't think I showed off my original cut of my on Distrusting Comics of my complete Image haul. So this is, if anything, this is the extended edition. This is like the TV adaptation of it. That it's the same as a movie, but there's more shit to it. It's extended. They did that for BlackBerry, but I think that's too broad of a reference for you guys. Happy and Nameless, both written by Grant Morrison, and both of which I've read. Happy is like there's a yin for every yang. There's a yin for a yang when it comes to Grant Morrison. You either get something like Nameless that is pure Grant Morrison, and if you know Grant Morrison, you know his stuff is very confusing, all over the place, but in the best way, in my opinion. And then you have something like Happy that's more straightforward and more appealing to a wider audience, and also to Grant Morrison fans too. But it's not as confusing. Moonstruck. This is a book you can judge based off its cover. I liked it enough. It's the skin of its teeth kind of book. Like, I only got it because I was like, you know what? Why not? I saw it on Amazon, and when I was looking up books to get for Christmas, and I saw this one, and I was like, you know what? I'm feeling like I'm in the giving mood. So let's get this book. I didn't really think it was all that special, but I again need to reread it. But the one, so yeah, I can judge it based off its cover. If this cover does not appeal to you, you will not like it. If it does, you probably will. Now, I did end on a cliffhanger. Volume 3 does, where I was like, okay, now I kind of do want to know what happens. Moonstruck is by Grace Ellis, by the way. And again, I'm only going over the authors, not the artists. I'll be here all day if I do that, because I'm going to go over colorists, too. Dark Engine, Ryan Burton, right? Let's see. Yes, Ryan Burton. Vindication is a nice, written by M.D. Marie, and it's a nice little, it's a nice relief from these super biased stories. Like, they have, like, clearly what's supposed to be a villain, but they give him a motive behind his villainy. I think that was, like, I had to commend the book for that itself. The story itself, I remember being pretty good, honestly. It was, like, it's a bit inconsistent, like, with pacing. I remember some of it was slower than other parts, but I think overall it was a good book. I do recommend it to ones that like that, like, cops versus robbers kind of book. And obviously, like, they're wrongly convicted, that kind of stuff. Not actual, like, not like, I mean, think cops versus robbers, think of something more like, silly because of the game kids play. Two Graves by Genevieve Valentine, A Thing Called Truth, and The Least We Could Do, both written by Iolanda Zanfardino. There's the name if you want to, because I'm probably mispronouncing it, so if you want to know how it's spelled, there it is. Citizen Jack, written by Sam Humphries, and Blackbird, written by Sam Humphries. And Blackbird I have read and thought it was outstanding. The artwork is outstanding, the writing is outstanding, everyone put in their all for the story, and it's a story that I would love to see. From what I remember, I think it ends, I don't think it ends on a cliffhanger. I think if anything, it ends like, it has a good ending, it's a definitive ending. But I can't say that for certain. But I would like to see more of it regardless. Rocket Girl, written by Brandon Montclair, and as the only exception, I'm going to mention who the artist is. It's Amy Reeder. Both of them are the co-creators of Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. Moon Girl. Devil Dinosaur was Jack Kirby. But that Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur is a pretty damn good comic. I actually just finished reading the second to last issue, just before I recorded this. And I like that series. And this one, while not as good as Moon Girl, I remember it being good enough. But I just had to get it again because I wanted to read Moon Girl again. And I was like, you know what? If I'm going to read Moon Girl again, let's celebrate that by getting Rocket Girl. And again, Christmas gift. Exorcister is written by Ian Boothby. Now, for those of you who don't know, who are new to my channel and new to me in general, when I started out my comic collecting craze, I started out by collecting Simpsons comics and reading. By collecting, I mean reading too, and reading Simpsons comics. And Ian Boothby, whenever I saw Ian Boothby's name in the credits of a Simpsons comic, I knew I was in for a treat. He wrote the best issues of Simpsons comics. And even though Exorcisters is probably a comic that I wouldn't have minded only reading my library's copy and not purchasing myself, again, Christmas gifts, I didn't buy it, but still, it's still a commemorative piece. Like, it's kind of like Ian Boothby, it's more just Ian Boothby is the reason why I got into comics in general. So what better way, again, favorite publisher, indie publisher thus far, what better way to commemorate his work, or, again, he's not dead, so I don't think he's dead, but I'm just saying, like, in general, commemorate his work than by getting his Image Comics work. Again, favorite publisher, so it comes full circle. Underground, as you could see probably when I was doing this real quick, when I was showing off Exorcisters and talking about Exorcisters, Underground is by Jeff Parker, and it's from Oni Press, but the original printing is by Image, and so is the original series, so is Image. I honestly have thought about putting a little Image comic sticker over this, like printing out a little paper, and then making the size so small so it fits there, and then taping it Image to the spine. I probably won't, but I still, like, every now and then I'll think about doing that. Black Cloak, Kelly Thompson, Self-Made by Matt Groom. And this is a perfect example of why I am so crazy about I need everything by this author, no matter what. I need everything. He's done for Image Comics, or she's done for Image Comics. Self-Made is the prime example of why I do this, because I love that book so much that I'm now a Matt Groom, like, fiend. I want to get everything he's done, at least for Image Comics, or read everything he's done in general. And then Inferno Girl Red is also by him. Maestros and Post Americana. If you like fantasy, and if you like Steve Scrosay, there you go. Maestros is there for you. And if you like more post-apocalyptic stories, Post Americana is there for you. And again, Steve Scrosay, Post Americana is a book for you. Also, he did so I'm going to mention the artist and colorist, because it's the artist is Steve Scrosay for both these books, and the colorist for both these books is Dave Stewart. And so Maestros I did like more than Post Americana, and I think both of them in general I do recommend to all of you guys watching. Joe Pruitt did both The Nameless and Kilroy is Here. Home is written by Julio Anta. I know I didn't mention who wrote that in my original cut. And so both Home and Man-Eaters are prime examples of guilty pleasures. They are terrible books, they are propaganda, but it's so outlandish of how that could have been printed that I love every page. And for Man-Eaters and Home, I got them at a discount, so I didn't pay full price. So there you go. So Matador, Devin Grayson, Man-Eaters, Chelsea Cain. Chelsea Cain in general is just such a guilty pleasure author for me, because she definitely does not think the same way I do, or most people think. So it's insane to think that she got her book published by Image, no less. Bolero, Wyatt Kennedy, again, mentioning the artist, Luana Vecchio. Now, Bolero is absolutely outstanding, again, an underrated, main comparison people make is to Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. That could not be more accurate. And there's a quote on the back that says it's like Eternal Sunshine. That could not be any more accurate. It has that same feel. But I remember, again, I haven't watched Eternal Sunshine in a long time, but I do need to watch it again. I think it's on Prime, actually. I should really get down to that, watching that again. Now, the artist for Bolero is Luana Vecchio. Artist turned author for Lovesick, and she also does the artwork for Lovesick. I Love Trouble. One of those, it was the last I needed from this author, so I got it, disregarding how I felt about the book. But even that, I liked I Love Trouble enough, the comic. And it's written by Kel Simmons. And he also did Mercenary Sea and Frame, so all three of which are written by Kel Simmons. Two Moons, The Creep, Rumple by John Arcudi, and then Ultra Mega is written by James Harren. Artist turned author. He did the first 3 volumes of Rumble. Did the art for the first 3 volumes of Rumble, and then did the artwork for Ultra Mega. Yeah, because Dave Stewart's not artist, the colorist. Kill the Minotaur. Ironically enough, I got this the same month as Beowulf, and both this and Beowulf are both Image comic adaptations of classic literature. Samurai's Blood, Owen Weisman. Hitomi, H.S. Tack. Chroma, Lorenzo De Felici, again, artist turned author. You'll see the book he did the artwork for pretty soon. The third part of this video. Rogues Gallery by Hannah Rose May. Sins the Black Flamingo, Andrew Wheeler. Both Step by Step and Cry Havoc are both written by Simon Spurrier. Blood Tree and The Mighty are both written by Pierre J. Tomasi. What's the Furthest Place from Here is written by Matthew Rosenberg. 20th Century Men, Dennis Camp. Heart Attack, written by Sean Kittleson. Sacred Creatures, written by Klaus Janson and Pablo Ramondi. And they also did the artwork. Another phenomenally underrated comic that I wish that would be really, really nice if it came back with an issue 7, because it ends on a cliffhanger, and it was really annoying, but it was still all around a good book. Shadecraft is written by Joe Henderson. This was the one I was mentioning. I read recently, so it doesn't really count. Like, I was saying that about I should reread all these that I read before, read them again, except for a few books. Yeah, that was the one exception. I just read it like a few months ago. Hell, but honestly, by the time I get back to doing that, I'll probably both reread Shadecraft again, and Flawed. So, you can probably pretty much just disregard what I said, honestly. Brian K. Vaughan's magnum opus Saga. Now, I said I wasn't 100% sure where I left off of on Saga. I do remember. So those who read Saga, and this is not a spoiler, by the way. It's a mild spoiler. But they meet. One of the characters is really obsessed with romance novels, like cheesy-ass romance novels, and she wants to meet the author of those original novels, and that is where I left off on. They just met them, and they met someone else too, which I will not spoil who that is, but it's where they're in where he lives, like around that area. That's where I left off on. And the reason why I did was because even though I really, really dug it, and it was like such a like a binge read. They call it the ultimate binge read, not an exaggeration in the slightest. It is the ultimate binge read. But because I didn't want to be left behind, or I didn't want a huge case of FOMO, when I knew this series was coming back, that's when I stopped reading Saga. But I will probably get back into it again, because it's 66 issues, honestly. But even then, it's still not saying a whole lot with how good, how easily, not rereadable, how easily, you can't put that book down. And because of that reason, I think 66 issues will become the new 30 issues. Paper Girls, then this is all in one. It has been completed, and it's another phenomenal Brian K. Vaughan book. Knocks it out of the park yet again. Sex Criminals by Matt Fraction, my favorite Matt Fraction book thus far. Dead at 17, a complete collection, and Black Harvest, both written by Josh Howard. The Overman, written by Scott Reed. Multiple authors bring us Thought Bubble Anthology. And I know since I mentioned it for Garth Ennis, I want to mention it again here. Most notably, Becky Cloonan, and I believe Warren Ellis. Rose, written by Meredith Finch. Stray Dogs, Tony Fleecs. Infidel, I have read. It's the yin for every yang. So if Man Eaters was so bad it was good, Guilty Pleasure because it's propaganda, this one is just boring. I only got it because I had The Good Asian, also by Pornsak Pachote, and I needed this one, so I was like, you know what, to complete my Pornsak Pachote Image Comics run, let's get Infidel. And honestly, the second time I read it, I liked it a little bit more, so there you go. Night Trippers but like a little bit. Night Trippers and Dioramas, both written by Mark Ricketts. Bitch Planet and Pretty Deadly, both written by Kelly Sudaconic. And artist turned author for Mirror, this is by Emma Rios, and so is ID. The Fall is written by Jeremy Muralt. Then we have Whiskey Dickel, also written by Mark Ricketts. And finally, last but not least, Beowulf by Santiago Garcia. An absolutely outstanding adaptation of the classic literature novel. That's a piece of literature in general. I think it's a poem, actually, not a novel. And I thought it was the best adaptation I've read thus far, graphic novel-wise. The other one I read was by Gareth Hines, and it was lazy. He just took the original poem, or original... it didn't seem like it was a poem, but I was thinking it was like a book version. I don't know, but it was just that, and it was boring, and I didn't like it at all. But this is what you should read. If you want a graphic novel adaptation, it's at least different, you know. It's more exciting. So you'll see here that I have these DVDs as makeshift bookends. And you can tell that this is, or I don't know if you can tell, but there's no breathing room at all when it comes to the way I put these books on the shelf. That's the way how it is for all 4 rows of my shelf. The reason why that is because I wanted to make sure I had like no breathing room whatsoever. It's an OCD thing of mine. This month I will still get in this month, and definitely next month I'll be getting more stuff from Image. So I probably will just like put these on their side, like that, you know, like how they are here basically. But I don't know. But that, as I say, is that. Part 2 and Part 3 and Part 4. Again, it's just Part 2 and then Part 3 and then Part 4. 4 parts, 4K videos. You're welcome.